Welcome to Choir Talks. My name is Greg O'Neill. I'm the worship pastor at Ridgecrest Baptist Church, and Choir Talks is my weekly podcast. I'm getting to the end of the Old Testament in my Bible reading for the year. I hope you'll consider reading through the Bible chronologically or just straight through at some point. I don't do that every year, but it's been very helpful to me so far this year. Anyway, the last chapter of the Old Testament, Malachi 4, has a beautiful verse. Here it is. But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall rise with healing in its wings. You shall go out leaping like calves from the stall. The Son, that's S-U-N, of righteousness, Son of Righteousness, is a metaphor. The actual Son has no righteousness, so we're talking about a person here. And over the centuries, this has been understood to be a prophecy about the Messiah who is to come. That prophecy certainly fits Jesus. The Son is our source of light. John says about Jesus that he is the true light that gives light to everyone. And Jesus said about himself, I am the light of the world. But today I want to focus on the phrase, healing in its wings. The Hebrew word for wings is kanaf. Hebrew is a language with relatively few words, so many words in Hebrew are used to describe more than just one thing. Kanaf is one of those words. It means not only wings, but also what you would call the border of a garment. These two things may not seem related, but if you imagine for a moment the priest of the Old Testament standing with their arms raised and their tallit or prayer shawl draped over their arms, you can picture how the borders of that garment might seem similar to wings. Now just nerd out with me for a moment here. The kanaf, or border of a garment, in the books of the law were decorated with tzitzi, which are tassels. These tassels are tied together with 5 knots representing the 5 scrolls of the Torah. In each had 4 spaces representing the 4 letters which are used to represent the name of God, Yahweh. These tzitzi were made of white wool representing purity or righteousness. And there was also a blue cord woven in that represented royalty, as the Hebrews were to be a royal priesthood. Okay, so we have a messianic prophecy involving the righteous one bringing healing in his kanaf, or wings. With that in mind, I want you to read with me this story from the New Testament. This is Luke 8:43. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him, being Jesus, and touched the edge of his cloak. That's the kanaf. And immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you. But Jesus said, Someone has touched me. I know that power has gone out from me. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. That's pretty cool, right? The only truly righteous man who has ever lived, Jesus, is the Son of Righteousness, literally with healing in his kanaf, or his wings. I think the prophecy points to all of his healing, and particularly the healing of sin for all mankind. But this story is included in the Gospels for a reason, and I think part of that reason is to remind us of that prophecy. Let's talk about the woman for a sec. She was bleeding for 12 years. She had tried everything, but nothing could heal her. She is a picture of a lot of us who have physical ailments or some other long-term challenge that we struggle with. If there's something in your life that you've sought help for many years with no relief, well, you know that it's very hard to have faith in that situation. This lady may have given up hope, but when she learned about Jesus, she believed. She believed enough to seek him out and to put herself at risk of ridicule and rejection. She would also have been unclean by the law, ceremonially unclean because of the blood flow. Anyone who knew her would avoid her. It would have been inappropriate for her to be in that crowd that day because anyone who touched her would have become ceremonially unclean. In the Old Testament, the temple was where God dwelt among the Israelites, and it was the place where you would bring a sacrifice to make yourself ceremonially clean. In the New Testament, God dwelt among men in the person of Jesus. This woman did not make Jesus unclean. In fact, he made her clean. Going back to the prophecy for a moment, it says, "But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall rise with healing in its wings." And it goes on to say, "You shall go out leaping like calves from the stall." The Hebrews would stall their livestock in the winter and release them to pasture when the weather warmed. Imagine the joy of the calves that were born in a stall that could only look over at wide open spaces, but never to be able to get out in them. And then one day the gate is open and you can run free. Now imagine the joy that this woman must have had after years of captivity by her illness. Today, if you're hearing this and you've been praying for something for a long time, I can't promise you that you'll have an instant healing like this woman did. But there's some things that I believe that we can learn from this story. One is, it's never too late for God to work in your life, even though you might have prayed for years and not seen an answer. Secondly, powerful things happen when believers pursue God with expectancy and faith. Hebrews 11 says that God rewards those who seek Him. So I encourage you to continue to pray and believe and seek the Lord. I know this, the Son of Righteousness has risen, and He wants to heal you of the sin issue that has separated you from God. So I want to ask you today, have you experienced the life-giving, life-altering healing that is in the wings of the Son of Righteousness? Have a great week.